Saving America one entrepreneur at a time, it's the Biz Wrap Podcast with your host, Michael Manahan. The show that celebrates small business and entrepreneurs, it's Biz Wrap Radio with your host, small businessman, educator, and author, Michael Manahan. And welcome to Biz Wrap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan, and thank you so much for joining me today. We are the show all about small business and entrepreneurs. And if you're new to Biz Wrap Radio, we are the show here that's fighting for the small business people of America. Yeah, the people that drive our economy, that make things happen. Now, you may listen to the media and the government, and they'll tell you that all the jobs are created by the fat cats on Wall Street and by government programs, but in fact it is small business people that create most of the jobs in America. Most people in America work for a small business. Yet what happens when times are tough? Is the government bailing out the small businesses? No, they're bailing out the fat cats and the big corporations. So we're here fighting for you, whether it's ideas to help your business run better, whether it's how to help you make more profits, or perhaps it's how to raise money for your company. And if you're one of those small business people that's lucky enough to have made some money and you've got maybe some money to invest, we also feature ideas for making money, whether it be investing in other companies or investing in a unique financial product. So it is really a show that's really geared to you, the small business people. Remember the motto as a small business person: profits are not a dirty word. You've got to make profits. Take those profits, take care of you, take care of your family, take care of your employees, and take care of your community. And one of the things I love about small businesses is the way that so many of them are involved in their local community, whether it's sponsoring the local football team or the local baseball team or helping out with a 10K run. It is really great to see small businesses taking care of their local communities. It's what you really need to do. But today we got a great show lined up, and I've got on the phone with me a gentleman who is, he's got to be one of the premier experts in something that many of you may never have heard of, and it is tax lien certificates. So, Ted Thomas, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you. I appreciate being here.
Now, Ted, briefly tell us a little bit about yourself and what you actually do.
Okay. Well, first of all, I'm an entrepreneur, but my first career was as an airline pilot. But when I found out that you could make a lot of money in business, I resigned from the airlines and I got into business. And I've been in business for the past 40 years, and I do a lot of exciting things. But the simplest thing I do, I'll tell everyone about right now, is I found a very unique business that is in government certificates, which are real secure devices, which everybody worries about the economy. When they buy tax lien certificates, they're actually investing locally with the local government. They don't do anything out of their local area. And you can do that in over 3,000 counties in the United States. And it's just a small business, and it's one that works for people. And I teach it all over the world. I teach it in Singapore. I teach it in Australia. I teach it in the United Kingdom. And, of course, all over the provinces of Canada. So it's a very exciting business and a lot of fun to be involved in.
So this is not a business that is just localized to the United States. The same principles that you're using here in the United States you can actually use in other countries.
Well, actually, people come here to do it because the United States, the entrepreneurs here and the government here, especially in the past, the government created things so that people could make money, and the people from outside the United States are very receptive to making money here. So I actually teach them how to do it online. I created online courses on how to do this, which is new to the world, because 5 years ago you had to do it just in your local community. Now what you can do is you could live in Saskatchewan, Canada, and you could be buying in Riverside, California, or Los Angeles, California, or you could be buying, someone from Singapore could buy here in Florida, wherever you want. You can do it online nowadays. Oh, so that's a dramatic change.
That's amazing. Now, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening that have no idea what a tax lien certificate is. Can you kind of explain how those are created and what they're all about?
Okay. Well, every property in the United States, and there's 100 million of them, just so you have a rough number to work with, every property in the United States has what was formerly a wealth tax. When the English devised it, it was a wealth tax. If you own property, that meant you were rich. So every property has a tax. The tax generally, let's assume most of your listeners are in California, but in California, the tax is 1% of the value. Well, unfortunately, everyone, for the government, unfortunately anyway, everyone doesn't pay their tax. So when the government realizes you haven't paid the tax, they're going to do one of two things. They're either going to confiscate the home and sell it, or they're going to issue a tax certificate. So half of the states sell tax lien certificates, and the other half of the states, actually, the government will confiscate the property, and they will sell it, but they sell it for the back taxes, if you can imagine.
Wow. So let's say I had a summer cottage up at Big Bear, which is close to Los Angeles. That's worth $150,000. Right. I get in hard times. I can't afford the taxes. I don't pay the taxes on that property. So the government issues this tax lien certificate against the property for my taxes, which you said they're usually around 1%. So maybe after a couple of years, I owe $3,000 in taxes. And then what happens to that certificate?
Okay. Well, if you made the same example in Arizona, it would be perfect. But
okay.
let me take you back a step. In California, they only sell the property. So what happened to your property in Big Bear, you'd go 1 year without paying the taxes, 2 years without paying the taxes, 3 years. You'd go all the way 5 years. California is the most liberal state when it comes to taxes. There's billions owed to the government, and they don't collect it. Now, don't ask me why, because I know you need the money, but they don't. So they go 5 years. At the end of the fifth year, if you have not paid the taxes on that property, what will happen is the local now treasurer will auction your property for the back taxes. So if you owed $2,000 a year, they would start the bidding at $10,000, and anybody from around the world could see that on the website and buy that property starting bid $10,000.
Wow.
Happens every day.
Wow. Unbelievable.
Yes.
Yeah.
But now let me without interrupting, just so you don't feel bad, let's go right over to Arizona. Arizona actually sells tax lien certificates. So let's say you were living in Phoenix, in Maricopa County, and the same situation, you didn't pay the tax. Well, immediately, the first year, if you didn't pay the tax, what the local government would do is they would issue a tax certificate. Now, Maricopa County, to give you an example, I've been doing this for over 25 years in that county. I've never seen less than 17,000 certificates in Maricopa County, and the highest I've seen is 33,000. So that's how many people don't pay the taxes.
Hang on.
Every year.
You're telling me in one county, 33,000 people don't pay their taxes?
Okay, well, hold on to your desk, and I'll give you some real numbers. Cook County in Chicago, it's 100,000 people in just Cook County. That's Chicago. In Miami, it's anywhere from 45 to 65,000 every year don't pay their taxes. You could buy tax certificates in both of those states.
Unbelievable. Yes. I'm just floored. I would have thought it would have been, maybe a couple of thousand at the most.
Oh, no.
Well,
actually, it's so the audience would get a good perspective of it. I would say the way to think of this is there's 100,000 properties in the United States. Now, the total numbers that you and I just mentioned sound high, but what's really taking place is there are 100 million properties in the United States. 2 to 3% of the people will not pay the tax. Now, this doesn't mean that they're bad people. Now, what happens is, people have crises. They had a car wreck. They hurt their back. They can't work. They, someone had a fire and it burned their house and things like that. All those crises happen. Those people don't pay taxes. And when they don't, they're in a crisis situation. So the government actually gives them time. You see, if they gave you a tax certificate, the government's really just making a loan of your taxes. That's all they're doing. And I'm going to buy that loan from the government. So the government's very benevolent when they sell a tax certificate. They want you to keep the home, come and pay the tax certificate next year. But when you pay it next year, you have to pay a penalty. And if you pay a bill late, you have to pay a penalty.
Sure, absolutely.
So the penalties in Arizona is 16%. I'm here in Florida, they're 18%. In Texas, they're 25%. So those people, when they come to pay their tax, they have to pay that penalty. So you and I could buy that certificate and make money on those penalties.
Wow.
There's millions and millions.
That is just amazing. So we need to talk a little bit more about some of the nuts and bolts. We got about 45 seconds here before we have to go to break, so I don't want to get into too much detail before then. But basically, what you're saying is that instead of just grabbing the property and selling it, the government issues this tax lien certificate, and then somebody can buy it. That way the government gets the money right away, and at some point down the road, you can actually cash out that tax lien certificate when the property owner actually ends up paying the taxes. To put it in
and here's the fast answer. And the fast answer to that is 98% of all certificates will pay you back all your money within 2 years' time.
Wow.
So you have very low risk, low risk. And if you don't get paid, you get the property.
Okay, so look, we got to talk more about this because this sounds like an opportunity to make money. It's Mike Manahan, your host, Biz Rap Radio. We're here with Ted Thomas. We're going to be back right after these words. And welcome back to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for hanging with us. If you were listening in the last segment, we have been talking to Ted Thomas. Ted Thomas, best-selling author, publisher. He is known as America's Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. He's appeared on shows, 200 radio and television shows. I'm really lucky to have him on the line with me today. Again, Ted, thank you so much for being with me.
I'm happy to be here. Looking forward to it.
Great. Now, just to summarize, we were talking in the last segment that not all counties, but some counties in the United States, if somebody's behind on their taxes, the county puts a tax lien on the property and then sells a certificate. Individuals like you and I, investors, we can go and buy that certificate. We hold on to it. Some point in time, the property owner cobbles together the money to pay off the taxes, and when that happens, our certificate is paid off. But how exactly do we make a profit on this? I want to make sure the listeners are really clear on how we're able to generate a profit on these tax lien certificates.
Okay, great. Well, what you said was exactly right. The county will issue the certificate. So they issue the certificate in the amount of tax owed. So let's say it was $2,000. So you would pay $2,000 for the certificate, but each state has its own rules. So let's say we use the state of Florida, just an example right now. In the state of Florida, a tax certificate can pay up to 18% interest. So when you buy that certificate, you could earn up to 18% on your money. So people go in and put in $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 into certificates on different properties, and then when those certificates pay off, the property owner must pay them all of the taxes that were due plus the penalty. And the penalty was that 18%. Now, in a place like Texas, they pay a guaranteed rate of 25%. So if you put $2,000 in and pay someone's taxes, when they come to pay the tax, and 98%, even 99% in most places, will pay their tax, they have to pay you back to $2,000 plus the 25%. So that works in half of the states in the United States.
Wow, that is really great, and it really, when you think about it, it's kind of a win-win for everybody. The county gets their tax money right away; they don't have to wait 5 years. The investor makes a good return on their money they've put up to buy the certificate, and the homeowner, he's really not paying any more than he'd pay on his credit card, quite frankly, in order to get a reprieve and not have to come up with the money right away. So it's kind of a win-win for everybody. So I guess the next question has to be, how do you actually buy these certificates? Is it a complicated process?
It's not complicated at all. This was all invented 200 years ago, and lots of people couldn't read and write in those days. So it's a simple process, and I'll tell you about a website in just a minute, but just for the average person, they can go to their county, and the county will make lists of these tax certificates, and you can ask them for a list. Sometimes they'll download it. Sometimes they'll say, no, we're not going to download it. You have to go get a local newspaper. They'll always publish it in the newspaper. Thousands of people see these lists. Now, imagine a list of 18,000 properties. It's going to be a big, thick insert in that newspaper. People don't realize what it is because the government doesn't advertise these. I've been in this business for 25 years. And so just a quick little promotion. I'm Ted Thomas at tedthomas.com. That's all you have to remember. Ted Thomas at tedthomas.com. So if they go there, they can find there's free videos. They can watch four free videos that explain what we're talking about today, and they can actually see people doing it.
Well, that is amazing. So it's tedthomas.com. And by the way, we'll have that information up on our website. And if you by any chance also maybe just tuned in or you're driving and you can't listen to the entire show, you can, of course, go to bizrap.org. That's bizrap.org. And this show, after we air on KCAA 1050 on Friday at 1 o'clock, we will this show will be posted on our archived shows on BizRap Radio at bizrap.org. Okay, so you can. Then what's the actual process of buying? Okay, I contacted my county. I got the list, and I said, "Here's a nice one. I can afford this. It's $1,500. Perfect. That's just what I've got sitting in my bank account. How do I actually buy it?"
All right. Well, let's use Los Angeles County as an example. Would that be a good one for you?
Sure.
All right. In Los Angeles, the California rules are such that they allow the property owner 5 years of defaults before they finally foreclose. And what they're going to do, the local government is then going to send notices, many notices, saying, all right, we're going to auction your property at the tax auction. Now, when a tax auction takes place, it wipes out the mortgage. It wipes out the mortgage. So all properties that are bought at a tax defaulted auction, which they do in Los Angeles, all those properties come up for auction, have no mortgage on them. Now, the last auction I went to was in 2015 in Los Angeles County, and they had over 2,000 properties just in Los Angeles County that people had more than 5 years of tax default, and they auctioned those properties, and they didn't finish the auction in one day. It took two, and the auction is so big, they have to do it out of Pomona at the fairgrounds. That'll give you some idea how big a business it is.
That's amazing. Well, what about that? That's for the properties, but what about these tax lien certificates? How do you buy those?
So those certificates, you can buy them online. They have online auctions for them, or you can go in person, and you can go to the auction. They actually auction them off, and the certificate, like let's use Phoenix for example. Certificates maximum is 16%, but you go and I go and we both want to place some money. So you don't bid 16, you bid 15. So I bid 13, and then you bid 12, and then I walk away because I want to make at least 12. So you get the certificate at 12. So people can bid them down. They can bid the certificate. Now some people, just so you know, don't get a surprise. Some people would bid them all the way down to 0.
Well, why would they do that?
Well, it's a good question. What happens is if you own the certificate, you now have a right in that property. You control the property. The property can't be sold. Nothing can happen. But you own the certificate. So what those people are hoping is they're hoping that the property's actually going to go to default, and they're trying to buy it and they'll still buy it at low rates because they now control the property. When you buy a tax certificate, you have 100% control of the property.
Okay, so
you have more control than the mortgage.
So this is not just a strategy to buy basically a financial instrument that presents a good interest rate of return, but it's also potentially a way to basically acquire properties. So let's say it goes to that stage. Let's say you get the tax lien certificate, it's $2,000. The owner never ever comes up to pay the money. What is the process then that happens to the property if the owner never steps up to the plate and never pays the tax lien certificate?
Okay. Well, let me preface everything by saying that there's different rules in each state. So I'll go back and use Arizona again. So we bought the certificate, and no one pays it. They don't pay 1 year. They don't pay 2 years. They don't pay 3 years. At the end of 3 years, you can just take over the property. With no mortgage.
And all you've paid is like a couple of $1,000s for the certificate, and you can.
Well, you pay the taxes each year. You pay each year. You pay the subsequent year's taxes.
Okay, so you'd have to maintain the taxes on the property.
You'd have to keep paying the taxes, or if you don't want to pay, you just pay once. Then someone else can buy the second certificate, and someone else can buy the third certificate. But you own the power certificate because you got the first one.
Wow, that is amazing. So.
Yeah.
The one thing though that concerned me a little bit, you said if you go to Phoenix for the auction of these certificates, but obviously most of us have jobs. We're busy. We don't have
Right.
time to be traveling
Right.
to Phoenix or many other cities. Are there
Right.
are a lot of counties that have an online system that allows you to bid on these tax lien certificates?
Well, when I did these interviews 5 years ago, there was no online. Now almost all the counties are online. And that's why I teach it in Canada, and that's why I teach it in Singapore, United Kingdom, wherever they invite me to go, I go and teach it, and the people there do it, and they do it online. I have examples of people, and they can see it actually if they go to the website, of people in say, Regina, Saskatchewan, buying in Riverside and making anywhere from $20,000 on one deal to over $100,000 on one deal, and that's right in Riverside County.
That is amazing. So, if you're listening out there today, if you're this seems to me it's probably a good thing for maybe somebody who's got a good job, has extra cash, but doesn't have the time to maybe start a small business on the side, yet wants to do something, just to kind of, I guess, buffer or hedge against the fact that, jobs do disappear, and so you want to make a little bit of extra income. But it's also something you control. It's not like putting your money with one of those investment guys who put all your money in mutual funds. You don't really know what's happening. And Ted, I know you want to give me a response to this, but we got only 15 seconds left in this segment. So we will talk more about this when we come back. It is Mike Manahan, your host, Biz Rap Radio. I am talking to Ted Thomas. He is America's Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. You can check him out at tedthomas.com, and we'll be back right after these messages. And welcome again to Biz Rap Radio. It's your host, Michael Manahan. Thanks for sticking with us today. If you just joined us, we are talking to Ted Thomas. Ted is known as America's Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. He's been on 200 different radio stations and TV interviews, all of the big networks. And again, Ted, thanks so much for joining me today on the show.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. Now, we've gone on for the last two segments talking about some of the nuts and bolts about tax lien certificates, what they are, how you purchase them, how you can make money off of them. But, really what we've given is, within the time frame we have available here on the show, we've given a real kind of overview. But I'm sure that anybody who wants to do this needs to have more detailed information. So if somebody goes to your website, tedthomas.com, what will they find on their website that can help them understand how to do this?
Well, first of all, they're going to see on video, they'll see me in an interview format with a professional interviewing and asking many of the questions that you and I would ask if we had the time. But we go through that first so that they can get a basic understanding of tax liens and tax deeds, a little bit more in depth. There's 20-minute videos, and there's 4 of them there. And then once they understand the basics of it, they can go to video 2, and then video 2, they'll start to see actual people doing it. So I actually bring in people and put them on video that actually do it, because certainly if I'm doing this, people are going to be a little bit suspect, and you have to build your credibility. So what I do, rather than brag on Ted Thomas is the greatest and say that, I video people that are actually doing it. For example, women really like this whole system because they can stay at home on a computer and they can look and buy those tax certificates, and sometimes they'll spend $200, $500, $1,000, whatever they want to spend. Because some taxes are only $2,000, but if it was a big property, it might be $10,000. So it gives the women really like that. Then there's a whole other segment, and there's this video on it. There's a whole group of people out there that love real estate, and it seems that everybody that has a pickup truck and a hammer knows how to fix up houses. So we show them how to buy some of the houses that come up for at tax defaulted auctions, and they come up all the time. Sometimes ranches come up. So we show them that. But rather than me brag about it, I give them different examples of different people now. There's young people, old people. Most of the audience is 45 plus, because at that point they're thinking, we got to take care of our own future because we don't know if the government's going to be able to do that. So they're going to take care of themselves. And when they want to do that, they want to get something that they can do. They love to do it from home. But then there's those people that want to go and do it. So we actually show auctions, which it's very hard to get the county officials to agree to, because they don't like to be on video. So we even have auctions so they can see it. So I take them all through the process. For a couple of $100, they can learn how to do it. If they want to go to advanced courses and get a coach and all that, we do all those things too. But we want to get them to the point where they understand it. The difficult part for everyone is it just sounds unbelievable. Can I buy a property for back taxes? And I show them doing it, and I show me at auctions and other of my clients at auctions, and we buy properties for just the back taxes. That's hard to believe, but it's been going on for 200 years. I didn't invent this system. All I did is take 2 years off of my life, study the different states, and then I put it into materials where they can push buttons and watch the whole thing online.
Well, one of my concerns, Ted, would be that, in this day of modern technology and communication, there's a lot of interesting ideas out there for making money, but my concern would be, am I going to be competing with 100,000 other people trying to buy that one certificate? So it's just so competitive. I know you talked about, flipping houses, and I know here in the Los Angeles market, a good friend of mine is in that business. He's a professional at it. They have a fund of a few $1 million. They go out, they snap up these houses. He's lucky if he can buy a couple of houses a year, because every house that's available has 15, 20, sometimes 30 cash offers on the house, and it's hard to really make it happen. And we've got these guys who advertise on the radio, oh, you make $20,000 a month flipping houses.
Right.
But it is so difficult to actually buy the house. So is the competition so heated that, people are not going to be able to buy their certificates, or will they actually be able to get them?
Okay, well, there is no market that you're not going to have competition. When I started, we used to buy houses for $1,000 without any problem. But now we're in an electronic communication age where things move fast. So I'll give you a quick example. I just came back from Kalamazoo, Michigan, because I didn't believe it myself. So I'll take you on that journey in 1 minute's time. So before we went, we could lay it out on a computer, all the properties for sale. Now, this would be impossible for you to do without the electronic age that we're in. We looked at 37 houses in 3 hours. All of those houses will sell for the back taxes. Now, here's the beauty of it. If you get trained and you know how to do this, well, you might go to that auction. There's never been an auction that I've attended in 25 years that they sold all the property. So they had 245 properties that they're going to sell in Kalamazoo and the next county. That auction, anybody wants to check on me, will take place this Friday. Okay, they won't sell all those properties. And when they don't sell all those properties, that means there's not too much competition or nobody's interested. They will then have another auction 28 days later where they'll sell those same properties that were being sold for back taxes will now be sold for $100 each.
Unbelievable. Wow.
It's a matter of knowing what to do, Mike. And I can't teach you everything on a call like this. There is no market that's not going to be competitive. Anybody that says there is just lying through their teeth. The point is, there's always the educated buyer is what it takes. Now, who would ever dream of going to Kalamazoo? Now, I went because I was in shock after looking at I looked it over. In 2 days, because of electronics that we could do, I was able to look at 89 properties. Now, I'm talking to you from Florida today. I will attend that auction online on Friday, and I'll wait and see which properties don't sell. 28 days later, I can buy any of those properties, starting bid at $100. The whole state of Michigan operates that way. That's an inside scoop for you right there.
Wow, that is incredible. I mean, and look at it. If you got the worst property on the planet for $100, it's still a good deal.
If you got the lot and you bulldoze the house, and you know what? If you really knew the rules, and I'll tell you the rule, the house, let's say there's a tacky house on it that you didn't want. Believe it or not, I've done so much research and have so much data, I have databases on this, that you can go to the county and say, this has got a dumpy house on it, and I want to get rid of it. And the county say, you know what? We'll send the bulldozer over and take care of it for you. And they'll clean the lot off. Wow. I have actual case studies that show things. Now you've got a cleaned off lot. Now tell me, a lot that has electricity, it has water, it has sewer, and you bought it for $100. How bad a deal was that? No one in the world can teach you what I just taught you.
That is just amazing. So again, if you're listening to us today, I'm talking with Ted Thomas. Go to tedthomas.com. You can find out more information on how you can be buying these these tax lien certificates, buying properties just for the taxes that are owed. Every state is different. This is why it's a tricky thing. And I think that's probably what would keep some people away from it, is it's not just completely straightforward. It's not like buying something for $10 and then selling it on eBay for $15. It's a little tricky.
Right.
It's a little more complicated. But, for people who are savvy and are willing to invest a little bit of time, roll up their sleeves, and learn how the system works, to me, it seems like there's a heck of an opportunity here. And I talk to a lot, Ted, I talk to a lot of I'm going to call them mid-level or senior. They're not the CEO of the company. They're not the chief financial officer. They're some mid-level manager. They're making $80,000-$90,000 a year. They're doing okay. Maybe the wife works as well, but they really want to do something on the side because they're always concerned that what happens if the company I'm working for, when we read in the Wall Street Journal, this company or that company laying off 10,000 people, laying off 20,000 people, and if you lose your $80,000-$90,000 a year managerial job, that puts a big hole in your finances. But if you've got something on the side, but at the same time, these people don't want to buy a Subway franchise or something like that that's going to take up a lot of their time. They need something they can work on when they have time, that's flexible, that fits into their schedule. And this sounds just like the perfect opportunity for, particularly if you've got a little bit of cash, you can put it to work.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Let me give you an example for Los Angeles, because the Los Angeles auction will have a low of 1,500 properties at this auction. And there's going to be properties that people will pay at auction $2 and $3 million, but it might be 15 acres over in Pomona. It might be whatever. I don't know what it's going to be, but it's going to be a tax defaulted property at that auction. And the government will send you a book, and the book will be 3 inches thick with a list of all these properties. Or they'll let you download it 400 pages online, whichever. I have been to those auctions and watched people for years. I had a student last year. I said, go to the auction, wait till the auction is finished. Now, as you know, and we've talked about today, these properties are selling starting bid back taxes. Yes, someone's going to bid that up because they're going to see the value. However, the day after, if they haven't sold the property, this is an inside secret, here it comes. The day after, they cut the price in half. I had one of my students buy 5 residential lots in Los Angeles. 5, I can document this for you. 5 residential lots, one of which was in Malibu. He bought all 5 of those for $83,000, and the tax collector said they were worth $1,100,000. That answers whether the market's competitive to you.
Wow, Ted,
he spent 8 cents on the dollar in Los Angeles.
Ted, that's an unbelievable story. But look, I've got a break for commercials. It's Mike Manahan, Biz Rap Radio with Ted Thomas. We're going to be back right after these words. Welcome back to Biz Rap Radio for the final segment of this week's show. I am, of course, Mike Manahan, your host, and I am talking today with Ted Thomas. Ted is known as America's Tax Lien Certificate and Tax Deed Authority. He's been interviewed on 200 radio and TV shows, and he indeed has shared with us today some unbelievable information on how you can make money with tax lien certificates and by buying properties at auction where basically you have to pay not much more than the taxes that are owed on that property to take possession of the property. Again, Ted, thank you so much for being with me today.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Well, great. So, Ted, once again, what's your website? Where can people go to find out more information on how to make money off of these tax lien certificates and tax deeds?
It's a hard one to remember, but it's tedthomas.com.
Okay, well, that's pretty simple. Now,
Sorry about that.
You've got videos, you've got examples, you've got all sorts of instructional material where people can learn how to do this. And in addition, you've got some training programs. And what's kind of the base price? What's kind of the entry level if somebody wants to learn how to do this? They
start at low prices, $200, and they can go up to $600. They can't spend any more than that, and it's all outlined on the website. But the most important thing is to go through the 4 introductory videos so they get a good understanding of what it is. So that and it's very factual, like we are today. It's an interview format, and the people they will see on there will be real people, not movie stars or something like that. Real people talking about how they did and how they did it, and it covers many of the different states, but it definitely covers California because being the biggest state, there's the most activity there anywhere.
Yeah, that's amazing, and this sounds like a great opportunity for anybody who's out there listening. Again, if you maybe just tuned into the show, you're just catching the tail end of the show here, you are interested in tax lien certificates, you can go to tedthomas.com. But Ted, I want to take a few minutes here to talk about something that is a little scary. I got a phone call last week. I did just a phone call. It was from a toll-free number. I didn't answer it because I was busy. But then I listened to the message, and the toll-free number, the message was, please call us. This is the Internal Revenue Service. We're going to place a lien on one of your properties. We need to talk to you immediately. And, of course, I was just, oh, my God, I don't think I owe the IRS any money. But it concerned me that perhaps there was an issue or a problem. So I called back the toll-free number, and a gentleman answered with a very thick accent. And, something like,
oh, boy.
Internal Revenue Service, yes, can I help you? And I thought, that is really a little bit strange. So I said, yeah, I just got a call from you, and you said that you were going to put a lien on one of my properties. I don't think I owe you any taxes. Yes, give me your Social Security number and give me your date of birth. And they starts asking all of this personal information. So I said, excuse me, sir, could you please give me your name, and I would like your federal employee ID number, because everybody who works for the Internal Revenue Service has an ID number. That's how they track all of the agents and what have you. As soon as I asked for that, I got click, and he hung up on me. So I called a good friend of mine who's one of the regional directors out here in Los Angeles for the Internal Revenue Service, and he basically told me that there is a massive scam going on where people phone up, pretend to be from the IRS, then ask you to confirm vital information like your Social Security number, your date of birth, and your address, and then they actually extort money out of you and say, if you don't make this tax payment, and they give you a bank account number where to send the money, if you don't make this tax payment by next Friday, we're gonna repossess your house, and people are actually paying it. So it is a major scam. Can you believe people doing that, Ted? It's just
it's a whole education thing, which is you're doing everybody a favor by giving out that information now, because people just take it for granted that the IRS is going to take stuff away. They don't do business like that. They're actually they want to collect money, so they don't beat people up. They tell people, look, and they do it all in writing. Everything's done in writing. They don't do any of that stuff. I've never heard. That's bizarre. I mean,
yeah.
Well, of course, it's bizarre to give out your information too.
It is.
You shouldn't give out information.
Absolutely not. No, I did. I checked with again my contact at the IRS, and he says the IRS actually has a policy that the initial contact with a taxpayer who has any issues or problems will always be by mail. Once you've made contact by mail and you've called the IRS, then they could have subsequent telephone conversations. But the first contact on a tax issue from the IRS will never come through a phone call. So if you get a phone call out of the blue from the Internal Revenue Service, chances are it's a scam. Don't give them any information whatsoever. Do not send them any money. And if you're in doubt, hang up. Go to the Internal Revenue Service website, get the legitimate number for the Internal Revenue Service, and call them to confirm. Do not call back the number that is left on your voicemail, because these guys are crooks, and they're obviously operating out of some foreign country. Again, I don't. The guy had a really thick accent. I'm not sure whether it was an Indian accent or a Russian accent, and I don't want to disparage any people's ethnicity to surmise which it might have been. But I'll tell you, my heart was thumping by the time I got off the phone with this guy, and It's really scary that people would engage in this kind of activity. So once again, if you get a call out of the blue from the Internal Revenue Service, if you don't have an ongoing audit or an ongoing problem you're trying to resolve, and then just out of the blue you get a call from the IRS and they want information from you like Social Security number, birth date, they want you to wire money, hang up on them, take the number, report it to the IRS. It's a scam. And, talk to this about your family and your friends. The ones that always concern me is our elderly people who, and sometimes not just the elderly, but also sometimes the less sophisticated people in our community who are targets for these kind of scammers. So talk to the people you know. Make sure that everybody in your circle understands that these kind of rip-offs are going on out there. So anyway, Ted, back to you. We got a couple of minutes here, so let's just wrap up. Give us one final summary. Where do we go for information, and what kind of information do you provide, and how can people make money doing what you teach them how to do?
Okay, so a quick summary would be all states and all counties, there's over 3,000 counties, they'll either sell a tax lien certificate or a tax deed. Now, a tax deed is a defaulted property. Those properties, the starting bid on those properties in every county will be the back taxes. So anybody can go to those auctions. It's a free-fall when you're there, and you just bid like you would at any auction. You can do the same thing online. The other half of the states that don't sell tax defaulted property, they actually sell tax lien certificates. You can do that in about half of the states in the United States, and all those counties have their own rates. For example, in Chicago, you can earn as much as 33%. Here in Florida, it's 18%. Texas is 25%. It varies all around the nation. Depends upon the legislature. Anybody can make money doing this. You can start out small. I tell people, go invest $500, $1,000 and do it that way so you learn how. The key is learning how, because every state and every county has its own rules. I can't quote any one that's exact. So when I gave it earlier in the program, I talked about Los Angeles. Well, I know the facts because I have the booklet and I have the rules. So every auction has its own rules. It's an open system that anybody is allowed to buy. Anybody can buy it. Tax defaulted auctions.
Fantastic. And your website once again, Ted?
It's TedThomas.com.
Okay, easy enough. Check it out. Here at BizRap Radio, we believe we can fix the United States of America through a fundamental concept that individuals pursuing their own economic interests in free markets will create more prosperity for more people than can ever be achieved through government regulation and a planned economy. BizRap Radio, fixing America through individual economic freedom. That's it for this week. We'll be back again next week with another edition of BizRap Radio.